From 20th Century Fox comes Screen Dive, the first podcast developed and produced by a major Hollywood studio. Screen Dive re-examines some of our most beloved films through new interviews and behind-the-scenes insights with the artists who brought them to life. Guests explore iconic titles like The Sandlot, Planet of the Apes, Deadpool, and Devil Wears Prada. Listen to Screen Dive on October 30th on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, YouTube, or wherever you like to listen.
Hi, this is Kyle Rudolph, and you're listening to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast.
Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast, coming to you from Draft.com Studios with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
Welcome in.
We're back after the
From
day off.
The future.
No,
sorry.
we took yesterday off, man.
Oh, because of Andy, Ryan, and Jeff.
Yeah.
There were a number of people who thought there were really going to be 3 guest hosts. And there were.
And there
were.
Yeah,
so if that was one of
talking
you,
about?
clearly you're very wise.
Now, I understand, like, yesterday was the day to go to YouTube to listen
Right.
to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Today is the day to not go to YouTube.
Absolutely not.
Do
There's-
not go. Do not subscribe.
There is a guest in the middle of the table.
I look like a fool. I mean, I hate my face right now, and I tell you, Foot Clan, the beard will be coming back because when you have no chin but you got a big neck and you got the turkey gobbler, it's not good. But for the people, for the Halloween, you had
You
to.
could have kept the mustache.
I could have kept the mustache.
That wouldn't
that's
have helped
right.
the gobbler.
But I chose marriage over mustache.
And we've all been playing Red Dead. You could have gotten the spirit and gone
Oh.
old outlaw with the handkerchief over your face.
Yeah, no,
You
I'm
could have shown up.
Look like you're about to rob a stagecoach.
I'm a fat baby-faced man right now, and I look like an idiot.
Oh
So
my goodness!
it's just the truth.
Thursday, November 1st. Welcome to November. We have matchups on the show today for the upcoming week. A little bit of news to catch you up on, but mostly it'll be fantasy forecast today, and we have the starts of the week. So we're getting you ready to win.
That's great news.
I've got to overcome piles of bye weeks, and I know many of you have to do the same thing and find some spot starts. I mean, this is the week where
yes.
a spot start is going to come in handy, which part of that's going to be projecting injury, because if somebody's out due to injury and you happen to sneak one of those guys on your roster, that could be the best spot start situation that you can find. I mean, Allen Robinson, for example. Is he going to play? Is he not going to play?
Right.
Taylor Gabriel's banged up. Does that make Anthony Miller a start? You know, can you buy a win?
Right, and it's easier to buy a win. You know, a lot of times you're like, oh, you've got a lot of bye players. You don't love who you're starting, but the reality is, so does your opponent. Everyone is hurt this week, so it is those fringe level players that are going to make the difference for half of the teams out there right now. Did you pick the right fringe level player? So I'd say this is probably the most important show of all time.
And that's why you shaved.
I shaved just for the importance of this
show.
Strange.
I want to get into a quick question centering around a very important player. Before we do that, I want to remind you can follow us on Twitter at the FF Ballers. You can win a signed Saquon Barkley jersey over at footclangiveaway.com, and it's free to enter. There are a number of cool ways you can enter, including voting for us. So if you vote for us for the iHeartRadio Podcast Awards, that counts as an entry. So you get a chance to win the Saquon Barkley autographed jersey, and you can see all that at footclangiveaway.com. The rankings are up, our initial rankings for the upcoming week. And I think those are the headlines. So here's what I want to talk about today, because I know.
I don't want to talk about it.
Look, Lev Bell has not shown up yet. And so I wanted to take a second in the quick question to talk about potential scenarios and piggyback on Jason's thought that, look, James Conner's going to start another week. That's what Jason's been saying for a while now. And the trade deadline came and went. Lev, that wasn't clearly the only thing he was waiting for, because he didn't show up at 4:01 p.m. Eastern with the team. Now, I'm aware of some different scenarios. Now, November 13th is the date that I have down as the last day that he can report and still be eligible to play this season.
No, and still occur his free agent status. So
Correct.
if he could show up past that, I believe, and play this season, but then he wouldn't.
He wouldn't get a year.
Right, so he wouldn't be a free agent next year. And so,
it's the 13th?
Of November. That's
yes.
right. So if he now his other op, so that would, you say, okay, he wants to be a free agent, get the big money contract next year. He has to show up by November 13th. Sign his franchise tender and show up. There is another world here, a very realistic world, where he holds out the whole season. If he does that, they can the Steelers can franchise tender him again at the same rate of this year. It doesn't go up to a third-year franchise tender because he didn't accrue that status. So he would not be allowed to be a free agent. But in reality, I can't fathom them doing that. Right? I mean, it would be a black eye on them,
right,
to say, okay, Lev Bell, we're going to do what you held out from. It would take away their franchise tag from being able to actually utilize it if they wanted to use that for a player that, I mean, if they franchise tag him, do they think he's going to show up?
Well, isn't there, yeah, but there's the angle where it's like, look, we don't want to lose our power and leverage of the situation. We're going to do it again, hope he signs it, and trade him, right? Like that is an option where they could get something for him.
Sure. But
you're right. There could be, and I believe Pro Football Talk talked about this a little bit, there's a world where Lev Bell and the Steelers, behind the scenes, have a conversation. He says he's not showing up. They wink, wink, and say, we're not going to franchise tag you next year because they don't want to pay him an extra $6 million if he does show up because they're ready to move on. And he doesn't want to come show up, play, get hurt, miss out on the long-term deal. And they wink, wink, say, look. Now, I think that's a CBA violation. But there's still a world where that happens, where they basically say, look, don't show up. We want to save the $6 million. We're fine with Connor. We won't franchise you. Let's just move on from this relationship. And then fantasy owners that have stashed him weep into their pillowcases. And fantasy owners that took the chance on Connor around the trade deadline or moved to get him or, you know, have been, hey, I'll take a week or two. Get James Conner a top 5 guy all year long.
Yeah, I think that's legit. So as of right now, let's just assume he shows up on the 13th. That means that Connor has 2 more weeks, this Sunday and next Sunday, where Lev Bell will not be a part of the team at all, and James Conner's a complete bell cow. That 13th date will be really telling as to whether or not he gets the rest of the season. Because if he doesn't show up on the 13th, he's not showing up. He's just, I mean,
right. Yeah, there's no reason to.
Right. And so, yeah, I have James Conner in the Listener League. I have had several trade offers suddenly come my way, and I have held on to James Conner. Recommend you do the same.
All right, a couple of updates for the Thursday night game this evening. It looks like C.J. Beathard is going to be a game-time decision. There is an expectation out there that he's going to play tonight. That's what I think is going to happen. Adam Schefter says he's truly 50-50. Matt Breida will be out there tonight. He's listed as questionable. Pierre Garçon, Raheem Mostert, also questionable. Another reminder, it's a Thursday night game. So if you are privileged to run out some Raiders and 49ers this evening, please put them in your starting spots. Not your
what
flex
an honor
spot.
it is.
It is a joy.
I think there's going to be some fantasy
there'll be
relevance
points.
here. I mean, you've
not
got
good defenses.
Breida is your start of the week.
That's true.
Derek Carr is my stream of the week. Jared Cook is a good play. Jalen Richard and Doug Martin are probably fine plays this week.
We barely got it out.
Just trying to keep it down.
Right.
Acid reflux.
Yeah. So, but we're okay here. I mean, this game will be okay. Let's move on immediately.
I thought maybe that was some of the candy from last night too. Did you kids end up with?
Did they get candy? Yes.
Plenty of candy for the remaining year.
They got some candy.
Yeah.
Were you guys rationers as kids? Did you, when you had the Halloween haul, did you like spread it out over the next year's worth of like I've got candy every day, or
Look at
did
me.
you?
Look at me and answer that question, Andy. What did I do? Take a guess. Look into my eyes.
Wow.
Jason is destroying
Your
himself today.
Self-deprecation levels are on kill.
I ate it all as quickly as possible.
Did you eat it all last night?
I ate several of my kids' pieces.
Your children?
Oh, you're darn right.
Krampus style.
This is
You hate your kids?
my children's candy. My children are all still alive. I need to get more candy next year. If I eat them this year, it's short-sighted.
I ate several of my kids. My kids are my only mechanism to acquire candy. I need to keep them alive. Wow. Okay. Today's going well. Let's get into the forecast.
Fantasy Forecast.
There are some wild candies out there. I was looking through the kids' buckets this morning. They have all these like sour chili pepper covered. I was like, throw those out.
What?
I was like, you're going to throw those ones out.
Get out of my life.
That's not going to work. All right, fantasy forecast, a reminder, 6 teams on bye in Week 9. The Bengals, Cardinals, Colts, Eagles, Giants, and Jags. This is where you insert a joke about starting those players, getting you 0 points, because that's what will happen.
Nice.
Let's start with the matchup between the Steelers, 4-2-1, against the 4-4 Ravens. The Ravens are 3-point home favorites. The line in this game is a 47.5-point over-under. And, look, there are a lot of fantasy factors in this matchup. Can you start Vance McDonald? Let's start at the tight end position. Can you start Vance? Because it's been a real up-and-down season for him. Every time that you've been able to turn his direction and say, look, the snap counts are there, something like last week has happened, 38% of the snaps.
Yeah, I think you can start Vance McDonald, but there are other options that you could probably start over him. But when you start Vance, right? I mean, it's tougher this week with all the buys. The reason I say you could start Vance McDonald is sure he might be pretty worthless. He's been pretty worthless, I think, the last 3 weeks.
But seven for 68, and then he only played the high 30s in snap percentage, but still was 3 for 47.
Right. Which 3 for 47, you're going to be disappointed.
I would not be mad at that.
You're going to be disappointed. You're going to be like, that's kind of crappy. But here's what I'm saying. Half of the tight ends you're going to start this week are going to be pretty crappy. You're going to be disappointed with them. There are not many players out there that have the chance, the opportunity, the talent to actually have a big blow-up week. Vance McDonald has that in his range of outcomes, and we've seen some big games that the Ravens have given up to the tight end position. You know, the last 2 weeks, over 70 yards and a touchdown, 2 tight ends. So I think Vance McDonald, I don't want to start him, but if I'm in a bad situation where I go, I don't like any of these guys, then he's probably the one I pick.
It's a bit of roulette at the tight end position outside of the top options. Jason, Mike has Big Ben as the pump the brakes this week. So I imagine that makes you less excited about Vance. But does that affect your view of Juju Smith-Schuster, the second option?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't change how I'm playing Antonio Brown, Juju, or the pass catching weapons. It's just I think that the upside of the team and Big Ben is limited. I'm still going to play the skill position players though, and especially like James Conner, who's full 3-down guy. That he is everything that you want in a fantasy running back. So I'm still playing all of those guys, just not Big Ben.
Yeah, I would take the under on this game, a divisional matchup.
I was going to ask you who you think wins.
It's on the road. I think Baltimore wins this game. They're coming off a loss. You've got Big Ben. I know it's his non-throwing hand, but he's fractured his finger. He's on the road. We always talk about road Big Ben is not as good as home Big Ben. And
Baltimore sacks people.
This is a really tough matchup. So I don't like – I mean, I completely agree with you, Mike. I'm not going away from Antonio Brown or Juju. I'm starting those guys in almost every fathomable situation because they're just so talented they can they'll be fine for fantasy. But overall, I think this is going to be a disappointing game.
On the Ravens side, though, John Brown, he torched them the last time they played earlier this year. The Steelers are not good against the fantasy wide receiver position.
Especially deep targets.
Yeah, 35.5 points a game. He was 3 for 116 and 1 in Week 4 against them. And, 50% of Brown's targets are 15-plus yards. So
he's easily my favorite start from the Ravens. I mean,
agreed.
I mean, we'll talk about him later.
4-3 Bears. The 4-3 Bears take on the 2-6 Bills. The Bills are 10-point underdogs at home. The over-under in this game is a very painful 37.5 points.
37.5
And the Bears are 10-point favorites.
With double-digit dog.
Well, I mean, and this look, you stay away from all Bills, not named LaShawn McCoy right now. McCoy, through volume, it's enough to get you a baseline. Right. But, I mean, he's only averaging 7.5 fantasy points per game.
It's not good.
The Bears haven't allowed a rushing touchdown the entire season, and yet the last 3 weeks, LaShawn McCoy's put up 108, 94, 95 total yards. So we talked about it last week. He's doing it through the passing game. But you stay away from all Bills outside of that.
Yeah, the Bills are their implied total from this Vegas line is not even 14 points.
Yeah, that's not good. And we don't even know. I mean, Derek Anderson's out. Nathan Peterman's in. You're probably going to see more Wildcat.
Hey, and we should just say, I mean, because they're not waivers. They're not someone you could pick up. But congratulations to anyone playing the Bears defense this week. This is going to be very good for you. I will say this, Khalil Mack, I can't imagine starting him in this game. You know,
if you're the Bears?
Yeah, he's still dealing with the ankle injury. This is one where you go, we're gonna take our chances. Did either of you get a chance to watch the mic'd up segment? Not on the broadcast, but they had a whole full online mic'd up segment on Matt Nagy from last week. It was awesome watching him coach, watching him talk to his players, how positive and encouraging he was. There was this really cool thing. I saw this from Reddit. After the Jordan Howard touchdown, he grabbed Jordan Howard and he said, I'm going to get you going. I promise. I'm going to get you going. Great run. So it's cool to see that the coach cares. I'm buying in, believing Matt Nagy right now as an offensive mind. I mean, obviously we knew he was a good coach. He was
he's turned Mitch Trubisky into an every week 30-point fantasy scorer right now. Mitch Trubisky running the ball. I love Tariq Cohen, which maybe that doesn't necessarily mean you don't love Jordan Howard. You don't like Jordan Howard. I think Tariq Cohen is one of the biggest beneficiaries of Allen Robinson potentially missing this game. Cohen has been electric. Love Cohen. Question marks at the wideout position. Anthony Miller did score last week, but it was low target totals, low receptions. And Trey Burton, he's the tight end 6 on the year, but he's had 4 fewer receptions in every game but one. This offense, the Matt Nagy offense, has been spreading the ball around. It's been doing things efficiently, and it's cost some of these players that have been formerly very volume-dependent, like a Jordan Howard, right? Even a tight end that doesn't get 4 or more receptions a week is going to be a little up and down, even if you get the big games from Trey Burton. So, what's the confidence level in this matchup where the Bills are such heavy underdogs, but they've surprised from week to week on the defensive side of the ball, including last week. Look, the final score in the New England game betrayed the entire reality of that game. That game was a 12-6 game until about 5 minutes left. So
I was just going to bring up, despite me saying all that kind of stuff about Nagy and his offensive mind and what he's done with Trubisky, I'm not starting Trubisky this week. I don't see him as a weekly must-start option. I mean, you've got the Bills who have had a really surprisingly good defense against some great quarterbacks. I mean, here's the quarterbacks that they've had, not get to 20 points in a 6-point per passing touchdown league. They did that to Kirk Cousins. They did that to Aaron Rodgers. They've done that to Tom Brady.
Deshaun Watson.
So, I mean, look,
Aaron Rodgers.
They've pretty much shut down the quarterback position after the first 2 weeks of the season. And I don't think Trubisky is going to be the one that just torches them. And
it's interesting because I think I'm with you.
Sweet.
I think I'm with you despite the fact that, look, Trubisky's been on fire.
Yes, he has.
He's the number 7 overall fantasy quarterback, and you tell fantasy owners he's playing Buffalo
as
a 10-point favorite, and now, look, I think you can do worse than rolling him out there. But last week, 45 pass attempts for Brady, didn't throw a touchdown pass.
I would take
Mike's got a weird grimace on his face.
I was mishearing what Jason was saying.
Mitch remembering?
Yeah, but I would play Trubisky. It's all about the rushing for Mitch Trubisky. He has the
He has the
second most rushing yards at the quarterback position. He has 13 fewer yards on the ground than Cam Newton, and this is nearly about 25 fewer attempts. I mean, Mitch Trubisky's
really
running for 8 a carry, so I'm not enamored with Mitch Trubisky, the passer, but the runner at the quarterback position, absolutely. I think he's a safe play.
Yeah, last thing I'll say here, I think Jordan Howard is a good play this week. Whenever you've got a 10-point favorite in a low, scoring affair, that usually favors a running back. And I think if I had to pick between Jordan Howard and Tariq Cohen for this week, I would lean towards the Jordan Howard side.
Before we move into our next matchup, want to thank today's sponsor, Zebra. It's been reported that Americans are overpaying on car insurance by over $21 billion. Foot Clan, we got to get this together. In Zebra.com, they are helping us out. They are the nation's leading car insurance comparison site. It's the only place you can compare hundreds of policies from all the top carriers. Choose the best for you. Plus, they will never sell your information to the spammers. Love that. So you're not going to get those unwanted calls or emails. Just answer a few questions on a simple, fast form. They're going to find you the best rates. TechCrunch said it best. Zebra.com, it's the kayak for auto insurance. We all understand that. Just compare it, make it easy for me, and that's what Zebra is doing. And you can go today. You can start saving at thezebra.com/footballers. That's thezebra.com/footballers, spelled THEZEBRA.com/footballers.
And Foot Clan, don't forget, with all the bye weeks going on, maybe you're having a hard time with your players, with your season-long league. You're like, I'm frustrated with my matchup. Don't forget about FanDuel. FanDuel, I mean, we've got our DFS show every Friday, the Fantasy Footballers DFS show, to help you win at FanDuel. You can have so much fun. You don't have to be some crazy expert to play on FanDuel because they've got great games, a whole bunch of different options, like their new Gridiron Pick'em contest every week. You just pick the winners. You don't have to pick against the lines, no spreads. $10,000 is split amongst the top pickers. That's just a really fun thing to do. It gives you rooting interest in every game. That's why I'm really excited to be playing FanDuel this season. New users, if you haven't tried it out, you can get a $20 bonus when you make your first deposit on FanDuel. Come play with us at FanDuel.com/fantasyfootballers. That's FanDuel.com/fantasyfootballers, and listen to our DFS podcast to give you a couple extra tips to help you win this week and have an awesome time doing it.
All right, the 3-4 Buccaneers take on the 5-2 Panthers. Panthers 6.5-point home favorites, and it's a beautiful, wonderful, exciting 55-point over/under. This game's in Carolina.
How many points?
Oh,
yeah, I was waiting for it.
Oh,
I'm sorry, Brooks, and I appreciate you. And you haven't shaved your face, so you're living large. You look great.
Looking grizzly.
Thank you.
You look great. Look, is Ryan Fitzpatrick an upgrade for the entire offense?
The wide receivers, yes.
What about the tight ends?
Yeah, I don't think it's an upgrade for tight ends, but O.J. Howard.
Yeah, it's not the end of the world.
They were still producing in the first 3 weeks with Fitzpatrick, but I have so much more confidence in Deshaun Jackson, in Chris Godwin, even Mike Evans. I like Fitzpatrick in there to produce. I mean, he's just proven it. We've got enough games with him, even going back, if you look at him in New York with the Jets, of how productive he can be for a couple really good. If you've got good wide receiving options, he can get the job done.
You want to hear a crazy stat?
Heck yeah.
The Tampa Bay quarterbacks, whether it was Fitzpatrick or Winston, they have the second most fantasy points in the league behind Pat Mahomes.
Yeah, that's
so the
bananas.
Combined Tampa quarterback is the #2 fantasy quarterback. And look, I wanted to take Fitzmagic and the Bucs as my almost upset this week, but I just couldn't do it.
Yeah,
I just couldn't do it. But I do think it is a very high scoring, exciting, fantasy producing game. So Mike Evans, interestingly enough, did not practice on Wednesday. We need to monitor that. Well, obviously tomorrow we have in and out. We think he's okay. We don't know for sure.
He's gotten shook a few times throughout the season, so I'm guessing this is just the vet day off for him.
But, Deshaun Jackson, he put up huge games with Fitzpatrick, and then Chris Godwin, relevant again. Peyton Barber should be alone in the backfield. Jaquiz maybe on third downs, but Barber's going to get a lot of work.
Yep.
And with Ronald Jones out for a few weeks.
Yeah, if you are in one of those positions, I've seen people where they have no running back to start. They have none. And they got to go to the waiver wire now. Jaquiz is a guy that's 100% available that could end up used in the passing game, especially if the Panthers can get out to a big lead.
He's one of those disgusting, hard-to-start players. But
I hope you don't have to do it.
Would you play Duke Johnson or Jaquiz Rogers?
I would play Duke Johnson.
Okay, just asking for a friend.
It's just that's the break the glass.
That's the break the glass player.
In case of emergency, last resort, break the glass. Use this.
Four
catches just pops out.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm ready for 4 receptions.
That's kind of what his whole career has been. It's been like
it has
an opportunistic when you have to use him. I think that's what Jamal Williams' career is heading towards. That's what I think. Let me talk about the Panthers. Now, Cam Newton, multiple touchdown passes in 6 straight weeks, highest red zone completion percentage in the league. Great numbers for Cam. You're always starting Cam. But
booty scooter.
Yeah.
He is. But DJ Moore. Can you actually flex DJ Moore? And I want to know whether, if you're making that decision, would you rather flex DJ Moore or Devin Funchess? Because, look, I think it's Funchess.
I have Funchess ahead of DJ Moore. I don't think it's bold at all to say that this week you can start both. I would be completely fine if I see someone asking questions about Devin Funchess, start him. DJ Moore, start him. On a week like this week, on a game with 55 points over
on a game
under,
like this game.
With Cam Newton being is he our consensus number 1? I know he's my number one. So then he's probably our consensus number 1, regardless if Andy has him 1 or 2. It's just a great week for them. So, yeah, I do take Scrumptious, Devin S. Scrumptious.
Wow, I haven't heard that very much this year.
Over DJ Moore, but I think both are very good plays.
I have them both in my top 24.
Whoa, Nelly. Top 24 for DJ Moore?
Yep.
How about Greg Olsen? Is he a top 5 tight end this week?
Oh, yes.
You're all about...
I'm all about the Panthers. Look at the Buccaneers defense, man. It's the worst.
It's not good.
Most points to the fantasy quarterback position. Second most to the fantasy wide receiver. Most to the tight end position.
Still bad against running backs. Somehow they've found a way.
Because they score. But they can't stop anybody.
But that's what translates for fantasy owners into quarterback production. If you look at the Chiefs defense, which we're about to talk about, 7-1 Chiefs take on the 2-5-1 Browns. In Cleveland, 8.5-point underdogs. Cleveland at home against the Chiefs, 51.5-point over-under. The Chiefs' defense has struggled too. All the metrics against the Chiefs' defense, outside of kind of being still lower third at wide receiver, that's translated into infinite points for Pat Mahomes. So, if you have a great defense, your quarterback ends up in a position where they're not playing 4 quarters the way that you want them to play for fantasy.
Right.
Yeah, I love that this game is in Cleveland because I think that the Chiefs' defense and the Browns' offense will be better for fantasy, being that it's away from Arrowhead Stadium. So I'm a big fan. I've said this before. It's a little bit narrative street, but so far we're 2 for 2 on the coaches being fired. And that first week bouncing back, the team kind of rallying. Tampa Bay's defense
But that was only one
week.
coach being fired, Jason.
That's true. Now
it's a double negative.
It's a double whammy. I watched the
double positive
entire Greg Williams press conference. I did that to myself.
Oh, why?
Why?
The guy who could have signed immediately with 4 head coaching opportunities.
Now, in fairness,
we're not even going to interview him. They'll just give him the job.
In fairness, he did not. He did not say that those were professional teams. Okay, so we don't know. This could be true.
That's a fair point. I mean,
the high school could have said, "Hey, Greg Williams, I'll let you be the head coach." But
Greg
I just
Williams,
want to say,
the ultimate Clark Kent
find
of
somebody
the NFL right now.
Find somebody in your life that loves you the way that Greg Williams loves
himself.
Greg Williams. And you will be happy for a long time. But I do think the Browns rally here. I think they have a great offensive output. I'm actually excited for the Browns for the first time this season.
Wow.
For their offensive players. I've been very anti-Browns.
Andy's writing it down. A date that shall live in infamy.
So let's start with that side then. I mean, if you like Nick Chubb.
A lot.
You're going to play Jarvis Landry.
Yes.
Do we forgive David Njoku for goosing us?
Yes.
Well, you have to. You are going to make a mistake.
What if that was injury related?
Yeah, I mean it could be, but he was still out there. He was still running routes. So I'm letting it slide, like the Hunter Henry, like Evan Ingram last year, where he just had the random goose in the middle of the season.
Yeah, if you look at his last 3 games, 82%, 83%, 82% snap counts. This wasn't a – I mean, you could say, well, he was hobbled while he was out there, but he was on the field. I am 100% fine forgiving David Njoku, playing him this week. I would definitely play him over a Vance McDonald. You know, he's a tier above that. And we'll talk about that a little bit.
Oh.
Baker Mayfield has the 31st ranked completion percentage in the league, 58%. They are 29th in the league in terms of scoring, in terms of percentage of possessions in which they score. So it's not been good with Baker thus far. Obviously, the blame has fallen on Todd Haley and Hugh Jackson. Here's a little note from Baby Josh. He's reminding us. He's the resident collegiate expert in this office. Baker beat Pat Mahomes in college, 66-59 the last time they played. There was
do it again.
1,708 yards in that game.
Yes.
That can't be true.
That
in college, look at those points. Of course there had to be that many yards.
1,708 yards?
Yeah.
Wow.
Is that the 700-yard passing game or something for Pat Mahomes?
That's incredible.
I'm seeing just a hand come up from behind a monitor over there.
It's a little tiny hand.
It's a little baby hand.
Is that Jack Doyle?
Hey, good news. Tyreek Hill practiced in full.
He's
yeah.
fine.
That's
great groin.
That's that's great news for Pat Mahomes. It's great news for the offense. It's great news for me.
Yeah.
Is
Also,
Sammy Watkins a wide receiver too?
Yes. You start Sammy, you start Tyreek Hill, you start Kareem Hunt, you start Pat Mahomes, you start Travis Kelce. Next team.
All right. Jets, Dolphins. I bet you wish we didn't move on now, huh?
Next team.
The 3-5 Jets take on the 4-4 Dolphins. Dolphins are 3-point home favorites, 45-point over/under. It's been rough going for the Jets in recent weeks, especially from a fantasy perspective. Darnold's struggled. Isaiah Crowell's not been good. You can't count on any wideouts. I pumped the brakes on the whole team last week. And then even, some people are getting excited about Chris Herndon at tight end. He scored in 3 straight weeks. He's just not out there for a lot of snaps, not a lot of targets, not a lot of catches. He is scoring, and it's nice that, if you need to roll the dice, you could do worse. But any excitement for anybody on the New York side? Can you start Isaiah Crowell against this really bad Dolphins run D?
Yes, you can. We are actually going to be talking about Crowell later on in the show. I'm very I'm very excited for Crowell. I don't expect Elijah McGuire back. Trenton Cannon did outsnap Crowell last week, but that was a byproduct of very negative game script for the Jets. I just don't see the game going that way, and the Dolphins are horrific against fantasy running backs this year.
Okay. All right. That makes sense. If you have to start a Jets wide receiver, right, like you are obligated, which one do you start?
Oh, mercy. I think I start Jermaine Kearse, and I know people don't want to hear the name. Double-digit targets.
He was back to 10 targets
last week. And look,
Andy,
I don't start a Jets wide receiver. I'm going to keep my eyes on Rashard Matthews. I mean, he's new, so I don't even know what his snap percentage would be. But I do believe he's their best wide receiver. I mean, he's actually a quality. I mean, with Quincy out and Robbie being much more of a one-trick pony that doesn't match the quarterback yet.
He's banged up.
I'll
Robbie
agree
Anderson
with you that if all the other wideouts are out and he's the only one that's in, he's the best.
All right. So welcome aboard.
But I think teams have noticed that he's lost a few steps in his day. I mean, he tried out for how many teams before this job?
Yeah.
But let's talk about the Dolphins because Brock Osweiler is going to start this game again. Kenyon Drake's been pretty good. Frank Gore has, the matchup's pretty good. Can you start both of those players, and what are your expectations from the running backs? And, who can you trust?
So Corey Evans, one of our writers over at thefantasyfootballers.com, he tweeted this out. Since week 5, Kenyon Drake rakes as the PPR running back 6. He's had double-digit targets in each game and 3 touchdowns. His yards from scrimmage over that span, 115, 78, 87, 95.
Just real quick, you said double-digit targets. It's
touches. I apologize. Thank you, Brooks.
Yep.
Thank you. But I still don't trust Kenyon Drake.
Well,
even with all the evidence staring me in the face, I have a hard time saying, yeah, okay, Kenyon Drake, you're a running back 2 again.
Yeah, I mean, I totally get that. When you say double-digit touches, look, 10 touches for a running back is not usually enough. But because of what's happened to their wide receiver core, with Kenny Stills injured, with Albert Wilson gone, and his capability in the passing game, I'm definitely going to be starting Kenyon Drake. You have to. He's
capability
one of those,
in the throwing game too, am I right?
That's true.
Yeah.
He is one of those type of players that you have to take
What
the
did
lumps.
that mean?
He threw a touchdown.
No, he didn't.
Who threw? Oh,
Danny Amendola threw the touchdown.
Oh, yeah.
Did.
But he
Maybe
might. He
he
could. He could
probably
someday. It's great.
Misremembered.
That's funny.
So did Jason.
Yeah.
Me too.
There we go. The trifecta, except Andy. But you have to take your lumps with a player like Drake in order to get the big blow-up games. If he throws a touchdown this week and he's on your bench, you don't get those points.
Frank Gore. Right now, 7.5 fantasy points last week, on the field for half the snaps, carry count in the last 5 games, 11, 12, 15, 10, 12. Ho-hum. Frank Gore. Do you want to start? Let me ask you this. Frank Gore, Duke Johnson, Austin Eckler. Put those in order.
Ooh, well,
I'm going to go Austin Eckler because
yeah.
I don't believe Melvin Gordon plays this week.
Really?
I think even if he plays, he's shaping up to be limited.
Wow.
I believe that the Chargers will get it right and rest. If they rest him this week, I'm so much happier with Melvin Gordon. If they rush him out again, just like Dalvin Cook
All the
and
other teams.
Leonard Fournette, no, just let him rest this week. Bring him back next week. He'll be fine.
Let me ask you a question. If you were a Melvin Gordon owner, right, and Austin Eckler is out there on your waiver wire, how aggressive are you?
Depends
Super
on your
aggressive.
depth.
Like you, Mike, you have Melvin Gordon in our league of record.
I do, but I also have very strong depth at the running back
So you don't
position.
feel the need to get Eckler?
No, I saw him. He was out there. I didn't even put a claim in because I don't have a spot for
I
him.
was hoping to troll.
You thought you were getting one over on me, but I saw
was trying to troll
him.
him because I signed Austin Eckler today.
Yeah, no, it's a great sign for you.
Yeah.
But would you rather?
No, I
whatever.
get
It's
it.
our league. I'm not going to get into it.
I get it because you're saying, look, if Melvin's down, I'd rather start X over
Yes.
Austin Eckler.
Yes.
Yeah, I did a double take because Austin Eckler shouldn't be on any waivers.
Well, he dropped. Yeah, he dropped yesterday.
I know.
He was a drop of like it's hot.
I didn't have any fab. You got him with $2. I put in a $0 bid. I saw that he was dropped like an idiot. Who dropped him? I don't even know.
My opponent.
Oh yes! Yes! Those are so fun. Those are so fun unless you're on the other side.
So I'm on a super bye this week, right? Like I've got Mixon, Barkley, Beckham on bye. So my 2 running backs are gone.
He dropped
And here Austin Eckler, my opponent,
for who?
Peyton Barber.
All right, I get it.
Which makes sense. I was going after Barber, but little insight to the league of record competition here. But if Gordon misses, I've got a starter.
Yes,
Oh,
you do.
yeah.
So that's why I
Good
took
one.
the chance on him. All right. Before the starts of the week, one more matchup: the 3-4 Lions against the 4-3-1 Vikings. Vikings are 4.5-point favorites.
Well, hold on. Sorry, we do need to.
Devontae Parker.
We
I'm
got to
sorry.
briefly.
We do need to talk about Devontae
on the
Parker.
Dolphins wide receiver core.
Yes, we
because
do.
The Jets are allowing over 35 points to fantasy wide receivers. Devontae Parker, he stepped up the first time that Mr. B-Hole put him on the field.
6 for 134.
Gave him an in-your-face coach.
He was on the field for 40 of 41 passing downs.
Yeah.
And so you go up against the Jets. They've allowed the 7th most yards per game to receivers. And obviously you still get – I like the fact that it's Brock again, right?
I was going to say you combine, Mike's talked about this for years, but a lot of times when the backup quarterback comes in, they target the backup wide receiver. It just so happens that now the backup quarterback and the backup wide receiver are both starting and on the field at all times. So I actually think Parker is one of those players. You know, if you're telling me I got to play a Jets wide receiver or Parker, it's Parker without a
Is Parker the number one on that? Would you start him over Amendola or Jakeem Grant?
He would be, because he's the primary outside threat. I'd rather take the shot there.
Kenny Stills, it was initially reported that he practiced yesterday, but he did not. How does this happen? Like, how are we getting these weird
Does somebody
reports?
like tweet and then they take their glasses off and rub them off and then they're like, oh, no, that wasn't him.
Or reporters aren't showing up for work and they're like, yeah, pretty sure he practiced.
Or if somebody puts out, you know, if the report comes out that he's like a limited participant and then they just publish that and that was actually inaccurate.
All right, well, I mean,
the team.
Let's move on. 3-4 Lions, 4-3-1 Vikings. Vikings are 4.5-point favorites, 49.5-point over/under. And I think what people need to know right now, let's start with the Detroit side. They're underdogs in this game. Golden Tate, see you later. Out the door, heading to Philadelphia. So Kerryon Johnson, Kenny Golladay, Marvin Jones, that seems like your offense on the Detroit side of the ball. Does that give you a boost of confidence? The Vikings defense has been pretty good against the running back position. This is a Mike Zimmer defense that tends to get better over the course of the year as well. How much are they going to do to stop Kerryon, and where are you viewing him? Is he a a running back 2 this week?
Yeah, he's a 2. He's a guy that should be started in most leagues, but I'm not excited about this matchup. It's difficult. I'm surprised that the line is this high, almost 50 points. You know, you get Snacks to slow down the running. You know, you had a big hole.
The player.
Yeah, I
was going to say, you might want to, like, say the name
Snacks
of the person.
Harrison, they traded for a very good defensive
run stuffer.
Run stuffer, very large man. I mean, the name is Snacks, man after my own heart. His snack count is fully legit.
Yes, 100%.
And you know, so if he plugs up some holes and their defense is a little bit better, and you get rid of Golden Tate and their offense is a little bit worse, or trying to figure out the new system, and the Vikings defense is getting better under Zimmer,
You would take the under.
I would take the under. I'm still. I mean, that doesn't mean you don't start Kerryon Johnson or Marvin Jones or Kenny Golladay. I'm excited.
Oh, Kenny G, so smooth. The sax man.
So smooth.
You should probably talk. I don't have any plans of stopping.
He's like my face.
So smooth.
So smooth
like a baby's bottom.
I don't think I think he's.
We haven't let this thing
still going.
Why? He hasn't been good for 2 weeks, so I'm trying.
You're pumping him up?
I'm trying to pump him up. So, Marvin Jones over Golladay?
Do we know Xavier Rhodes? Is he?
He'll play, yeah.
Okay.
He'll play.
That's not good for one of those guys.
Yeah, but to be fair, Marvin Jones does have a history of torching Rhodes. Like, it's not impossible for him to be completely covered, shadow covered the whole game, and still have a great game.
Yeah, but at this point, do you shadow cover? I mean, would you choose to shadow cover Jones over Golladay if you're Zimmer? I don't know. I don't think it's going to be shadow.
Yeah.
I think they'll both see a little bit of Rhodes, but that's up to Zimmer. But my point is, I'm super excited. You guys know how much I love Kenny Golladay or Kerryon Johnson, and we've talked up Kenny Golladay and Marvin Jones. I think this could be a down week for all three players, and don't jump ship.
What about Stafford then? Same story. You just you kind of temper expectations.
Outside my top 12, he's not a quarterback one this week to me.
The biggest thing for Kerryon is that Theo Riddick was limited in practice this week. If Theo comes back and they just fully reinsert him into the pass catching role, it will be a hit because as you saw if you played Kerryon last week, he did nothing on the ground. All of his fantasy points were receptions.
All right.
The Vikings side of the ball.
Yeah, let's talk about Dalvin Cook. He's probably going to be out again. You fire up Latavius Murray against the Lions? Yeah, you do. They're trash against the run.
They have. I mean, Snacks is going to help them, certainly, but you still play Latavius.
Yeah, Latavius is I mean, in a week like this, certainly you've got bad options. I still like Kirk Cousins. This is in a dome. When you've got Thielen, you've got Diggs. Obviously, you're starting those guys. What about Kyle Rudolph? That's the real question to me on that side of the ball is he a better play?
If I need 3 points, man, there's no one I call.
Who would you play between Kyle Rudolph and
Vance McDonald.
Vance.
I'd play Vance.
That's one of those situations I agree.
I would play Njoku over him as well.
I think I agree that I would play Vance over because Kyle Rudolph, I would put it 60% odds Kyle Rudolph has a better game than Vance McDonald. So, like, he's got a better chance of having the better game, but that's 6 points over 4 points. You know, it's like, oh, so what? The huge game is Vance McDonald.
Kyle Rudolph is made for bye weeks. Because you feel great. If you need a bye week fill-in tight end, you feel awesome with Kyle Rudolph.
Sure.
If you need a week-to-week tight end, you feel meh.
I'm starting Kyle Rudolph in our Dynasty League because Eric Ebron is bye-bye.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Okay.
All right, let's talk starts.
Starts of the week.
All right, babyface, who you got at the quarterback position for your start of the week?
I am filling up the gas tank, cutting the brakes since you pumped them on Russell Wilson.
I did not pump the brakes on him. I said that he would haunt you.
Oh, he was your haunt player.
He was my haunt.
Okay. Well, I will.
But you can cut the brakes if you want.
Exercise
So
those
you're
demons.
giving someone a call then, apparently.
So Russell Wilson's your start of the week. That's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, this is a really tough. I didn't hear what you said.
Yeah, he was going Ghostbusters.
Okay. I'm gonna call. Yeah, I'll give him a call. Yeah,
It's
this is
too late.
The joke
man.
is gone. The
This
joke
is a
gone.
really rough week with the buys and with the specific matchups for quarterbacks. Russell Wilson's been a guy that's disappointed you most of the season until this last week. He's always been a second half of the year player, which we know about. But the reason that I like him here is much more about the Los Angeles Chargers. I don't believe – I mean, look, I was surprised coming into last week to realize that the Seattle Seahawks are the #1 team against quarterback for fantasy production. They've really been a solid defense this year when I didn't think that was going to happen. But Phillip Rivers has been MVP level so far this year. I think that the Chargers will be able to score on the Seahawks, and the Seahawks just won't be allowed to run the ball 30 times with Chris Carson, which is their desired preference. With Doug Baldwin, another week with probably their best target of all time,
Ed Dixon
in tow. I think Russell Wilson is going to have a really solid week.
I'm not going to detract from your start of the week. I just don't like these always a second half player argument because he's not playing bad. That's the point. Like Russell Wilson's playing fine. They're 4-3. They're in the playoff hunt. It's not like in the second half he goes, I'm going to turn up my dial to fantasy points.
But
they play fine. He's playing fine in their offense.
But here's the thing:
the offense is what limits.
If you look at their matchup, their schedule, they had very early season Mitch Trubisky before he got it going. Dak, Arizona against rookie Josh Rosen, Oakland.
Who are you talking about?
The Seahawks. Defense.
The Seahawks. They have not been really challenged, and they haven't needed Russell Wilson. So he's been playing well, but he hasn't been able to be a fantasy superstar because they're not playing teams where he needs to be, and I think they do this week.
Mike, this is frightening.
Well, it's only frightening because you go first, and then because that'll work into mine.
Okay. Ryan Fitzpatrick is my start of the week, taking on a Carolina defense that has given up at least 2 touchdowns for 6 consecutive weeks. That is a nice floor if you need to start a quarterback that you didn't have on your roster until this week. So the magic is back. The magic dust hasn't fallen off yet, and I think Fitzpatrick with the weapons and Carolina giving up at least 2 per game is a nice start. I think you're going to get a top 10 performance from Ryan Fitzpatrick.
So my quarterback start of the week is extremely difficult. This week in particular, with all the bye weeks, and you look at the guys who are in the top 10, because we're trying to give you guys who aren't super obvious, right? That's the whole point of the starts of the week. And you don't get into you get out of the obvious plays at around quarterback 10 through 12, but quarterback 10 is Matt Ryan, who's like a top 5 guy in the season. Of course, you're going to play Matt Ryan. Then Trubisky, who maybe I could have gone with him, but I think he's safe, but you don't love him against Buffalo. So that's just how it worked out. That my start of the week is Alex Smith, and this is the super desperate stream of the week. Maybe waivers ran through. You didn't get the streaming guy you wanted to have. Ryan Fitzpatrick, you got outbid. Alex Smith is taking on the Atlanta Falcons. They've given up the second most points to the quarterbacks. They are allowing top 10 fantasy quarterbacks like hotcakes. Now, Alex Smith has been very but Washington, similar to Russell Wilson, Washington has been able to control and dictate the pace of the game, and they go to Adrian Peterson when they're in the red zone. So that limits Alex Smith. But I was in a really tough spot here, people, and you might be as well. And I think Alex Smith might just
be nice if he threw for over 200 yards.
Yeah, Alex Smith.
He might be the vanilla ice cream that you need.
Yeah, he should be, a top 15 quarterback, which, if you're in a league where everyone's rostering 2 and you're down picking in the 20s, that's what you need this week.
Running backs, Jason.
Running backs, I am sticking with what I said earlier about the first time I really liked the Cleveland Browns offense. I think there's going to be motivation there. And, as they're getting yelled at by Greg Williams with F-bombs after every other word.
You're not man enough!
The offensive line will man
I thought you were a man!
Thank you, Greg. But Nick Chubb.
Get out of here with that crap.
Nick Chubb has 2 weeks in a row of 18 carries. That is fantastic. You give a guy like Nick Chubb 18 carries. Do you want to know what I want to coincide with that? A great, easy-to-run-on matchup, and that's what they have. They're at home against the Kansas City Chiefs, 31st best team against the running back.
Are you worried, though, that they get behind and Duke, with the new offensive coordinator, Duke becomes the guy?
No, I think that I see this is going to be a competitive game. So I think Nick Chubb has the opportunity to, first of all, always has the opportunity to break off a 50-yard touchdown. His top speed is awesome. And then they're going to need him. I don't think they're going to go away from him, especially with Greg Williams in tow. Greg Williams is going to be like, I don't care that we're down 35. Run the ball. Aren't you a man? So I like Nick Chubb this week. He's my start of the week.
Matt Breida set a season high in carries last week in a game we didn't think he was even
where he was supposed to be questionable.
We didn't think he was going to play. He plays tonight. He's my start of the week at the running back position, taking on Oakland. Look, if he's knocked out of the game, his production's going to go down. That being said,
Factual.
I'm not presuming an incident on the field. He's playing. Mostert's banged up. Morris has been bad. Matt Breida is the guy they count on in that backfield. He may actually catch a couple passes tonight. So I think Matt Breida, you're looking at 16 to 20 total touches against Oakland. You give me 16 to 20 touches against Oakland, I'm feeling pretty good, and I want to make him my start of the week so that you have confidence to roll him out there in one of those spots tonight.
Man, if the 50% happens that it is Nick Mullins throwing the ball, he better be checking down to Matt Breida every chance that he gets. My start of the week, as I insinuated, it's Isaiah Crowell up against Miami. Miami has allowed 100-plus rushing yards in 5 of 7 games the past 2 weeks. Kerryon Johnson, Lamar Miller both saw huge, tremendous success, and I expect the Jets to be in a more competitive game, which shifts things to Crowell, and we have seen what happens when Crowell is in a positive game script. It's monster games.
I have to give you a lot of credit on your what I'll call the Crowell timing this year, because you made him a start of the week when he had a blow-up game. You pumped the brakes on him immediately for the following week.
Now was the time.
He is very difficult to figure out because he doesn't just give you a 10-point week. He stinks.
He's
and
all
then
or nothing,
blows
man.
up. So Isaiah Crowell, hopefully this is the week. Jason, who's your wide receiver?
My wide receiver that I insinuated, John Smokey Touchdown Brown. He is coming off a terrible week where we said this is a really bad matchup for him against Carolina. Lo and behold, he had 3 for 28. But the last time he played Pittsburgh, he put up 116 yards and a touchdown. He is an air yards master, and it's a perfect matchup for what Pittsburgh has been struggling with. They came out of their bye, Pittsburgh did, and they looked much better last week. But that could just be the 1 week because prior to the bye, they were pretty much the worst in the league, giving up the big plays to wide receivers. And, even including last week, they're 27th against wide receivers for fantasy points given up. I think the matchup is perfect. John Brown has been better at home, and John Brown's the type of guy where you are trying to find the right week. You're trying to go, okay, is this the week where I get the huge explosion? Is this the week I need to bench the dud? And this is the week I'm calling for an explosion, so I'm going to make him my start of the week, as I did 2 weeks ago when he went ham.
Okay. All right, I'm going to go with Julian Edelman against Green Bay. He owned the middle of the field. This should be a very exciting, fun game, primetime game. Edelman always shows up. And, look, whatever deficiencies that they have with Gronkowski, that connection right now going on, Edelman is owning the middle of the field. He's owning third down. And last week was a huge game for him, over 100 yards. I love Edelman in week number 9. And then let's Mike, you've got your wide receiver.
I do. I'm going with DJ Moore. DJ Moore, like I said, I have both Panthers wide receivers in my top 24, and I want to give people the confidence that I have in DJ Moore this week. That is, he is a great flex option. I mean, he is 24, so technically he's a wide receiver too for me as well. Tampa Bay allowing 320-plus passing yards a game, over 30 fantasy points a week to wide receiver position. Cam Newton's my number 1 quarterback. We saw Carolina make the change this week that they're trying to get DJ Moore involved. The snaps were finally there. Torrey Smith being banged up. All signs point to the ascension of the rookie to finally be in our fantasy lineups and get us some points. And on top of that, where I think he's a safe play, DJ Moore's ceiling is monstrous. His athletic measurables are insane.
All right, let's close out our starts of the week with the tight end position. Jason is doubling down on that Browns offense. Always a wise thing to do.
Yeah, no, it's risky. I'll be honest. I'll be really honest. I don't love that I am going so hard at the Browns. I always stay away from the Browns. So this is going to be one of those.
Well, maybe you have the magic touch with.
If you burn me, I've stayed away forever. I felt good about it. And this is the time where I'm going in and watch it, Browns. Okay, come through for me. But
be a man. Now you're a man.
A man.
We got to get that for Greg Williams.
David Njoku.
So
David Njoku is a guy that you can't go away from just because he goosed. Tight end's goose. Hunter Henry is named the goose.
Look, a goose, it hurts, man, when someone gives you a good pinch in the butt.
Yeah, it's
terrible.
You don't want to get goosed, and I apologize for you being goosed, but yes, it's no good. But you can't stop starting a guy.
Can't stop starting a
goose.
goose.
He's still running 82% snap percentages. He's on the field all the time. A freak athlete. He has been getting it done every week of the year, except this last one. And you're going to want to go, oh, he goosed me. I can't play him. He's gonna be okay. This isn't me saying he's the best start of the week. You know, I had George Kittle in there originally, but I was like, that's a little too obvious. Jared Cook, these are guys you're starting over them. But because of the goose, a lot of people are going to say, I'm not playing David Njoku. Don't do that.
Yep.
I'm going with O.J. Howard against Carolina. Carolina's given up a touchdown to the tight end position in 5 of 7 games. They're dead last in the league in fantasy points allowed to the tight end. O.J. Howard's breaking out week after week. He's an athletic freak. Fitzmagic will get him the ball this week. O.J. Howard.
And I'm on the other side of the ball. Greg Olsen. We've already kind of covered the matchup. I really, really like the Panthers offense, so I'm trying to get a piece however I can. And Greg Olsen, since he's returned, he's starting to get a healthy a target share. He is involved in this offense. I think this is the game where we can really see him do something.
All right.
Jason Moore's ironclad, locked and loaded, 100% guaranteed boom boom kicker of the week.
Kicking it home in a dome. I don't want to get nuts. I'm taking my 4 field goals from the Saints' Will Lutz.
4?
Calling for the 4-pack.
Why not?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, why not 5, Jason?
Put in a request.
I would request 8 field goals, William Lutz, if you could be so kind.
Oh, you called him by his birth name.
To be my man.
It's weird. His birth name is actually Bill.
Yeah,
it's Billiam.
Billiam.
Billiam Lutz.
Billiam Lutz. Hey, Foot Clan, if you are struggling in your season long, you want to have fun, you want to go out and make some money, go over to FanDuel, have fun. Football season is never more fun than when you've got something on the line, you got some horses in the race. Do something, and look, everyone can play there. There's more ways to win than ever. Play their gridiron pick'em contest. It's fun. You pick the winners. No lines, no spreads. Really fun. New users get a $20 bonus when they make their first deposit at FanDuel. Go to FanDuel.com/fantasyfootballers. That's FanDuel.com/fantasyfootballers.
This question is completely not football or fantasy related.
I'm interested.
It was interesting because I just had this discussion with my kids, but I was reminded of it because William, somehow we can shorten that to Will or Bill.
Correct.
And then you have Robert.
Yeah.
That for some reason you can just slip a B in there.
Yeah, it can be Rob or Bob.
Or Bob. When did this happen?
Long time ago.
That we just decided, do you not like the first letter of your name? You're allowed to put a B in. It's a legal substitution.
Yeah,
that was at the Council of Will and Bill.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. That is actually Facturate. Facturate? That is actually factual. I was going to bring up Richard, but we shall not go there.
Oh, we shall not.
I have an Uncle Dick.
No, he was talking about.
Yeah, my Uncle Dick.
That's not where Jason was leading.
Oh, that was
sure.
That
it was.
Was it?
Oh, yeah. That's the nickname for
Richard.
Richard.
How did that?
No,
happen?
I thought you were replacing his name with what we're just talking about. Like if you changed Mike to Bike.
No, we weren't because we don't think like you.
No, we don't.
We were talking about reality where like Richard's nickname is Dick.
How did that happen?
How nobody knows how anything happens. Let's be clear.
The first
nobody knows how anything has ever happened.
Guy was just a jerk.
The first Richard was a jerk.
There you go.
King Richard.
That was my grandfather's name.
Oh, hey, thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to check out FootClanVote.com, support the show, and also, draft.com/ballers. See you tomorrow. Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Join our fantasy football community on jointhefoot.com and follow us on Twitter @TheFFBallers.